Welcome back, how's it going? We've got a lot of people joining the hobby this year and they're all asking about what equipment etc. do you need. Well, the gold pan is what you really need. That is before you can do anything else. The gold pan, whether you're mining like Parker in Gold Rush or you're just a hobbyist like me, you're going to need a gold pan. And learning to pan is one of the main things you'll need to do. Forget your sluices and all that, you need a pan. And you need to learn how to pan. So today I'm just going to go through, I've got a series of pans here, what pans I've got and why I find them useful and what I use them for. It might give you an idea on what pan you may want to buy yourself. So I've got, how many have I got? I've got 6 gold pans here. They come in all different colours, shapes, sizes, slightly different designs depending on what the designer meant them for. This was my first gold pan and it is a great pan. It's one of the cheapest. It can move a lot of dirt and I used it for 2 or 3 years before I moved on to another pan. So let's start off with the smallest. This is the copy of a Garrett pan and do you see the tiny small bottom? Not very good if you're a beginner panner. Because you're trying to swirl your material around, you haven't got much room in there. It takes a lot more skill to control that small space than it does if you've got a big, flat, wide bottom, where you've got lots of room to move your heavies away from the lights, away from the heavies, so you can to reveal your gold. So it's a lot easier the wider, flat bottom you want. All right. So this one, I don't really use it. What I find it useful is just gold. Just put gold in there and you can have a good look at it, and it's useful. That maybe a little black sand sometimes, but I just put gold in that generally. I've got a small Estwing here. It's the same type as this one. That's a 14-inch. This is a 12-inch. 12-inch is great if you're not moving material, but you want to be able to pan your concentrates and see what you got. And generally sniping uses a smaller pan, 10 or 12 inch. I don't know if you watch Tassie Boys and stuff like that, they always carry a 10 or 12 inch pan, as do many snipers. A sniper is someone who's in their wetsuit looking for larger gold generally, and they tend to just snuffer all their gold up and then chuck it in a pan at the end of the day to see what they've got. So that's the use of the smaller pan. Then you go to the larger pan like you see Dan Hurd using. And this is my favourite pan as well. And this is a 15-inch pan. It's the largest pan I've got out of them all. Back in the Gold Rush days, they had 17 to 20 plus inches pans because they needed to move a lot of dirt. And you can move a lot of dirt in this and be confident that the 2 large riffles won't lose the gold out of it. You can be pretty ruthless, not that great at panning, and still retain your gold. So I'm very lazy and I'm very sloppy at panning on the river sometimes, but I trust this pan to catch that gold. Whereas I bought this one a couple of years ago because this was rated at the best pan ever. It's a Klondike, but the old Klondikes were better. They've changed the design. It's got finer riffles now, and I actually was losing nuggety gold specks out of this because I wasn't being careful enough, and I didn't like it for ages. And then I realized what its use was for. It is for panning fine gold, and it works really well. And sometimes you'll see the little round divot in that pan there. That can be annoying for just panning gold, but that is designed to catch gemstones. I think you're supposed to place a bit of I don't know if this is an old wives' tale. They said place some Vicks over there, petroleum jelly, and that catches diamonds and gemstones. I don't know if that's true or not because I'm just a gold panner. But that's apparently what that divot is in that pan for. But I find it quite annoying sometimes when you're panning black sands and it collects in the divot. So although I thought this was going to be a great pan, it's not my favourite. I'm still the 15-inch super sluice. That's called a super sluice, although it's not a sluice. And it's really thick plastic. You could sit on it, you can use it as a seat. It is a two-handed pan though. You know, with the smaller lightweight pans, you get used to panning with one hand, and I panned for one hand with this 14-inch. When I first got this, I thought it was rubbish because I had to hold two hands with it. But you get used to it. You start off with two hands, and when you pan it down, I usually go back to one hand. I just find it easier. So let's go from the beginning. So we got the 10-inch pan, good for gold really, only not enough wide enough bottom. 12-inch pan for sniping generally. This pan is great for what we call doing the backwash, because it's got a ridge in here. The other pans haven't got a ridge, if you look, and that comes into its own when you're doing a backwash tap, and you're tapping the gold up, and the gold will stay within that ridge. Whereas on the pans with no ridge, the gold starts going up the pan, and then you'll do a wash, and you wash your gold round. So if you're doing backwash skills, I'm going to do a video of backwashing, and I'll show you what I mean with that later on. But that is really a good pan for doing backwash on it, and it's a good all-rounder. This is my hiking pan. If I'm going long distances and just test panning here and there, that is the pan I'd use. It's a Garrett Gold Trap. It's a really good pan. If you're starting off, I'd say that's a good pan to start with. If you really get into your panning, and rather than sluicing, then you want a big pan to move material. So either of these two, or even three, those three pans are great for moving a lot of material. This one for the finer gold, this one for the more nuggety gold, and this one I'd say it's for finer gold as well, but you know, all the pans will catch all the gold mainly, it's so heavy. So let's have a discussion on colour. If you notice, I've got just green and black pans. You can get all colours of pans, but I've tried many. The deep blues and reds do my eyes in. I can't handle that. White, I've never really had to go with a white one. I've had to go with a pink one, that's too much. Dark blue, very dark blue ones, I find it difficult. Some people like them. You can get the light blue ones, are not too bad. But why do you want a different colour to start with? I started off with a black pan, and you can see gold perfectly well in a black pan. There's nothing wrong with seeing the gold in a black pan. But as I became more proficient at prospecting, I wanted to see what other heavies I was getting in the pan other than lead and gold. To see black sands in there, you haven't got a chance. This is full of black sand now, but you can't see it. You can only see the light sands in there, really. But if you put black sand into some black sand into the green one, look how well that shows up. So that is why I switched to the green pans, because you could see what heavies are associated with what you're collecting as well as the gold. So I did a couple of years with the black, switched to the green, and then I ended up with this one. If I'm going for a proper day's prospecting, I always use this pan. This is the best. You'll see Dan Hurd and many other prospectors using them, and there's a reason for that. They catch the gold, they rarely lose it, they're easy to use, they're really strong, and that is my favourite pan, and there's not much better than that. So which pan? There's a choice of 5 for you there. So you've got 2 Estwings. They're the cheapest pans. They're regularly available on eBay for less than £20, probably 10 and 17 or something like that. The Garrett, you can buy the Garrett kit, which is, I think you get those 3 pans, not 100%. Some kits just with those 2. Some with all 3. I mean, if you're going to stick with a hobby, then it's worth buying the Garrett kit. You won't find that one much use, I don't anyway. But these two definitely get the most use for me. I don't use the black pans that often, although I have been panning with them today. Yeah, I mean, if money's tight, I'd buy the black pan. If you got enough money and going to stick at the hobby, go for the Garrett pack, and you won't go wrong. The Mine Lab one's very good as well. Some of my friends have got them. This Klondike, I mean, if you're going gem hunting, it might be useful. The old Klondike had really steep riffles, and that's why I liked it. But the modern one have changed the design. It's not so good, I don't think. But then Scotland last year I went where there was a lot of flower gold, and actually used this pan all day and really loved it. So if you're panning flower gold, then this is a good pan to have. I imported that from Sweden. The Garretts come from America, but places like metal detector shops and stuff sell them. And Garretts are readily, and the Estwings are readily available on eBay. So let's have what else can we talk about gold pans? You get copies. This isn't a Garrett. This is a Garrett. That's a Garrett. That's a Garrett copy. But there's no bloody difference in them, I don't think, really. I mean, it probably warp or it's just not going to be just quite as good quality, but I don't use them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. What else can we talk about? Riffle designs. So you could see on the riffle design. So on this Estwing, you've got very small serrated riffles, and then you've got medium ones. Whereas on the Garretts are much larger, so we've got less riffles on there, better step. And on the Super Sluice Garrett, we've just got two massive riffles, which I find the best. And when you're panning, when you've got a full pan of gravel, you use the riffle side. But when you get down to more of your concentrates, you switch around and you don't use the riffles, because the riffles will actually hinder you. We'll show that in a panning video one day. So there we go. That's my rundown on pans, and that's what I've got. I still use them all to a certain extent, but the Garrett Gold Trap and the Super Sluice are my favourite. But everyone has their own preference. But I would definitely recommend a green Garrett pan any day of the week. Hope you like my little rundown on gold pans and their uses. I can't think of much else. Just go for a wide flat bottom, coarse riffles. You don't need these fine ones, and when I was learning I used it a bit. It's just pointless really. You're either using that side or this side. You'll see some pans with these type of riffles that side and large ones of this side. Don't see why they actually hinder you. Hope you enjoyed that, and let me know what you think in the comments. Bye for now. So what is a gold pan? They're made of plastic nowadays. They used to be made of metal. And if you've heard of the sayings, you need to season your gold pan, that comes from the old metal gold pans from the 1800s and gold rush era, where obviously steel rusts very fast. So they would have their mining season in the summer. They'd be using their pans all the time, so they didn't really get a chance to rust up. But as soon as the season was over, they'd put them away for the winter. And what they would do is burn them in the fire so they go blue, and that gives it certain anti-corrosion. And then they'd cover them in oil and hang them up for the winter. So, and then in the new season, they'd put them back in the fire, burn the gold off them. They'd blue them, what's called bluing. That gives it a blue tinge from burning them in the fire. And they'd be ready to go for the new season. Now nowadays you hear people say, oh, you need to season your gold pan, you need to season your gold pan. If you're a sluicer and you really do not use your gold pan, then maybe you need to season your pan, but I don't agree to it. Because look at all my pans, they're all roughed up as hell. Look at them, every one is roughed up. I've never took the sandpaper to one of them. Look at the state of it. They're all roughed up. I've never seasoned any of my gold pans, because if you're actually going to do gold panning, by the time you've panned the overburden, the plastic film has come off the gold pan, which is why they say season a plastic gold pan. From the manufacturing process, there's a layer of oil left on the plastic gold pan. And some people tell you to take sandpaper, etc. to it. You're just ruining your gold pan, in my opinion. Do not do that. I actually like to see the gold film on it. When I'm panning, the water runs away much faster and leaves the gold. It's nice, but it only lasts a couple of pans. As soon as you've done 2 or 3 pans of gravel, that oily film's gone anyway. So there's probably more people than not saying to season your plastic gold pan by sanding it. But just in my personal opinion, that is pointless. If you're going to be panning, the gravel will do it for you in minutes. If you're just sluicing and you don't really use a pan other than to wash back to see the gold, then maybe it's worth it. I don't know, but I do plenty of panning, and my advice is don't sand your gold pan. Let the gravel do it naturally. So what are the parts of a gold pan? It's basically a dish. It's got sides, a bottom, and usually riffles of some type. They didn't used to have riffles. The Chinese miners brought the riffle design in at some time in the late 1800s, and it really works. It catches on. And steel pans nowadays, we got tiny gold left now. It's really hard to pan and see tiny gold specks in a steel pan, so the plastic pan is a real good improvement. So I wouldn't advise getting a steel one. So big flat bottom, at least riffles on one side and a flat on one side. You need the flat. Don't be tempted to get these pans with riffles all round. The flat side is useful.